Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Dose, and I think now that the dust has settled, we can safely say that Xbox just had one of the best showcases ever made in terms of video games. Now, that's not just coming from me either, but if you look around online, it really seems like that's been the resounding response. Objectively, Xbox just had a killer showcase, and they impressed a lot of people out there. You know, even on the opposing side of things, I've seen a lot of die-hard PlayStation fans that are kind of mad at this showcase. Not necessarily because it was just good, but because they want PlayStation to have a showcase like this. So I think that kind of tells you everything that you need to know here. It really was a great event. But that's also kind of the thing, because the fun didn't simply end there. Since that showcase, there's been a lot more details that's come out, and that's what I want to focus on here today. I want to take a look at some of their more exciting reveals and some of the information that's since come out. And honestly, my hype level has somehow increased, if that was even possible. So we are going to talk about Gears of War E-Day, Perfect Dark, Avowed, and also Expedition 33. So you know what? Let's just go and get right into this, starting off with Gears of War E-Day. This is by far my most anticipated game now. As a longtime Gears fan, that trailer legitimately had me emotional, and I cannot wait to see the origin story for Gears of War and how Emergence Day played out. That trailer, I mean, it just hit on all of the right notes. The visuals are striking, and the more I've heard about it post-showcase, the more amazing it ultimately sounds. So first things first here. There has been some skepticism online about its visuals and whether or not it's a CGI trailer. And they have since confirmed that was, in fact, not a CGI trailer. It's actually using in-game models, which makes this reveal, I'd say, even more impressive. They even said that it'll have 100 times more environment and character details than what we saw in Gears 5. And I mean, you know, that game still looks great to this day. So we are talking about a massive jump in visual fidelity, and I almost have to kind of wonder if this will be a debut game for the next Xbox console. Now, I'm not saying that it won't release for the Xbox Series as well. That's not what I'm saying here. But there has been a rumor swirling around that the next Xbox could possibly release as early as 2026. And I think we're probably still another 2 to 3 years away from the launch of Gears of War E-Day. So I think when you put 2 and 2 together, no, I wouldn't necessarily be shocked at all if we just witnessed one of the first true next generation games, as hard as that might be to believe. I mean, it really feels like this generation just kind of started in a way. But in my opinion, I think this would be the perfect game for them to kick off their next generation console and to really showcase what that console is capable of. Now, a part of its visuals, though, and I thought this was really done well in the trailer, is its tone. That trailer really highlights the desperation and the horror that it would feel like to fight off these monsters that's lived under their feet for, you know, who knows how long. It captured that fear and terror just so beautifully. And by all indication, that will translate over to the final game as well. That wasn't just for the trailer. They said that it was very intentional in recasting the Locusts not simply as foes, but as living nightmares. They want the Locust drones to feel brutal and fearsome, which is something that's kind of been long lost as the series has progressed. You know, this also kind of speaks to other Locust threats as well, because if the drones are this scary and just this brutal, you know, what does that tell us about the more elite threats and how dangerous they'll be? Now, that, to me, sounds absolutely incredible. You know, the Locust was always meant to be kind of this boogeyman that's under your bed. They want it to feel like a true nightmare. And now with modern technology, and I think, again, we're really seeing that in the trailer, they can now fully realize that. And what better way to do that than by putting you in a position where you can see this threat from the eyes of the characters who are seeing them for their first time ever. I just think that this is the perfect setup. The Locust threats have always been just so cool, and we're really going to see another side of them in Gears of War E-Day. I think this is going to be kind of a unique entry for the franchise that really can kind of be even more immersive than it's ever been before. Now, in terms of its story, though, I don't want to say too much here just in case you haven't played some of the previous games, but they did confirm that this is 14 years before the first game. They did hint that it will tell the origin story of the Lancer, which, for those that don't know, is the chainsaw gun. And this is something that I personally like. They also confirmed that it will be an entirely linear game. Now, for me, I think that's a great choice. I personally don't like the idea of Gears of War being in an open world, and I've always said this, and I'll just go and say it again here. Open world does not mean better, and in most cases, I actually find that linear games tend to be better designed. So personally, I'm happy about this choice. And oh, by the way, for those that are wondering about the eventual Gears of War 6, they confirmed that that will still happen. They're just taking this opportunity to go back to its roots first, which, again, personally, I love this idea, but let me know what you all think. What's your thoughts about the future of Gears and Gears of War E-Day? Are you liking what you're hearing? Because, again, I know I am, but I want to hear your thoughts as well. Now, as for Perfect Dark, this is another game that really impressed a lot of people, myself included, and I think that was really needed for this specific game. You know, there's just been so many rumors about Perfect Dark and whether or not this game is in trouble. We've heard a lot about its development over the last couple years, so it's nice to see its gameplay reveal kind of silence some of the, in my opinion, ridiculous rumors and speculation that we've heard these past few years. It's almost as if game development is a process, and we probably shouldn't jump to conclusions based on early development. There's a reason that developers don't talk about everything that happens in their studio. It does take time to get where they're going. But nonetheless, its gameplay reveal looks really good. And after that event, they gave us some more details that I thought was quite interesting. For anybody who grew up playing the original Perfect Dark, those games were arranged in a way where they kind of drop you in these different locations, and they give you these missions that you have to complete as a secret agent. The thing about its gameplay, though, is that it's up to you to figure out how you want to complete those missions by using all of these different gadgets that you have at your disposal. If there's any modern game that's kind of similar to it, that would be the Hitman series. And reading through their latest article, I kind of got the sense that's exactly what they're doing with the reboot. They're going to drop you in these different sandbox-like locations that you can infiltrate. You can actually see here where they said at the widest level, Perfect Dark will be a single-player experience with a set of missions, but with choices offered in how you complete those missions. Looking at the trailer, it's clear that traversal and gadgets are a huge part of this. We see new parkour abilities used throughout, both for movement and combat. The developers tell me that the focus was on creating an intuitive movement system, which will let players find interesting ways to tackle their objectives. So I think that actually sounds really interesting on paper. I mean, we have heard rumors before that this new Perfect Dark kind of plays out episodically. And maybe that's where these rumors were originally coming from. Maybe it's just a set of different missions with widely different locations like we see in the Hitman series, and really even in the original Perfect Dark game. So honestly, after reading that, it kind of sounds more faithful to the original Perfect Dark than what I even originally thought it was going to be. And if anything else, this only gets me even more excited than what I already was. Now, Avowed also got a deep dive, and I'm going to go ahead and post a video in the description below if you want to check that out. It's about 27 minutes long, but the big thing that a lot of people really seems to be excited about is the addition of third person. So if you just don't like that first person view for whatever reason, you will have the option for third person as well, and I think that's a really smart move on Obsidian's part. I feel like when it comes to these big RPGs, if you have the ability to give fans that option, then yeah, absolutely do it. Give players the choice to play in which camera angle they prefer. The only thing about this game, though, and it's something that we still don't know, is that there, yes, has been some kind of mystery as to when it will actually release. It's honestly kind of a weird situation, and there's some concern out there that they might miss 2024. Well, if you are worried, though, they have since claimed that they're confident in a 2024 release, so no reason to be concerned just yet. And also, interestingly, in their press release, they accidentally revealed a November 12th launch. Now, they, however, have since removed that date from their website, so maybe they just don't have anything set in stone right now, and they're just kind of targeting that day. It's hard to tell for the time being, but as of right now, I would expect a holiday release sometime in October, November, or even possibly December. Of course, though, once we do get that confirmation, maybe at Gamescom, maybe, but I will give you an update as soon as we hear something more official. Now, one last game that I quickly want to talk about here, though, is Expedition 33. I said a few days ago that it was one of my highlights for the Xbox Showcase. I was very impressed by this game, but because it was such a stacked event, I thought it might get a little bit overlooked. Well, apparently I was just wrong about that, because I've seen a lot of people list this as one of their favorite reveals as well, and the JRPG community is absolutely loving Expedition 33. I've seen various people say that this is what Square Enix should have done with the Final Fantasy franchise. A lot of people still want that turn-based combat, and this would have fit Final Fantasy very well. Though I would kind of say that its rhythm-based combat reminds me a little bit of Lost Odyssey. I mean, that game did come from the father of Final Fantasy, after all, Hironobu Sakaguchi. So, I mean, for those Final Fantasy fans out there that wants this style of game, definitely go check out Lost Odyssey. I'm just going to kind of throw that out there. All in all, though, there seems to be a lot of hype right now for Expedition 33, and I'm pleasantly thrilled to see that. Apparently, its team is small, and it's only made up of only 30 people, but they're big fans of games like Persona, Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, and also Golden Sun. So it's made by a small and passionate team that has apparently great taste, and I think that's a pretty good sign here. Again, though, it will release next year for Xbox, PC, the PlayStation 5, and yes, it's also coming over to Xbox Game Pass day one. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode, but as always, do hit that subscribe button, and until next time, peace out.